So without further ado, I would like to introduce our next speakers. We have Matt Curry and Will Longhurst, respectively Head of E-Commerce and Email and Promotions Manager from Lovehoney. Now, for those of you who don't know Lovehoney, I recommend you take a peek because, and in fact, Matt describes himself as a perverter of the nation in his bio. And before he was marketing what he cheerfully admits he never believed actually existed, he was selling frozen food to the elderly, right? And I was trying to work out if there's a connection there, and I just couldn't find one. But anyway, and Will, meanwhile, sees his job as spreading the message of sexual happiness around the globe. He also likes a challenge, also he says. So, ladies and gentlemen, and those in between, please welcome Matt and Will, who will talk on the topic of lubricating the customer journey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you to Amicia for inviting us. A slight apology first. Due to some technical limitations, we are having to press 2 buttons at the same time in order to progress through the presentation. But we are used to doing it with both hands, aren't we, Will? Yes, we are. Oh, it's a cheap gag, but I love it. Right. Oh, what am I doing? I'm pressing that button there. There we go. Right, so, hey, it's us. So we are from Lovehoney. Hopefully you do know what Lovehoney do. If you don't, then you're probably in for a surprise. By way of introductions, yes, I'm Matt Curry, Head of E-Commerce. I've been Head of E-Commerce for 7 years now, crikey. And you can find me on Twitter at ecommatty.
I'm Will Longhurst. I'm the Email and Promotions Manager at Lovehoney. I've been with Lovehoney for 3 years. Never done any public speaking before, so please go easy on me. Any heckling, save that for the end. I'd really appreciate it.
But before we start the presentation proper, a slight warning that there are rude words and pictures in this presentation, but hopefully not too rude for 11:30 on a Tuesday morning. Because we are the UK's largest online retailer of sex toys. This is the Lovehoney Classic Magic Wand. It retails at £49.99 if you are interested. And if proof were needed that these things work, this is Jamie and Adele. And Jamie and Adele randomly, individually, started modeling for us back in 2011. And now, 6 years later, Jamie and Adele are married and have a daughter. These things work. Lovehoney is based in the delightful Roman city of Bath. But what that actually means is that we're on a slightly scuzzy industrial estate in the outskirts. And because we're kind of outside of London, we are very isolated, essentially. And we're slightly arrogant about it. But we don't, for a company that sells vibrators, we don't really talk in buzzwords. Most of the tech that we have is developed in-house. We are deeply suspicious of any agency that comes to visit us. Sorry, Ivan, for the way we've treated you in the past. And we are a very small team. We're an astoundingly small team. When we'll talk about it, but you will be aghast at how few people actually work at Lovehoney. But despite that, we are a global business. So we have, obviously, Lovehoney UK, we have Lovehoney Australia and Lovehoney New Zealand, we have Lovehoney America and Lovehoney Canada, we have Lovehoney EU, which is essentially a Eurozone site, mostly serving Ireland, and then we have translated sites for France, Germany, and recently Spain. Obviously, our headquarters are in Bath, as I said. We've got an office in Brisbane and an office in Atlanta as well, which means we can do 24-hour customer service in a multitude of languages. Which means we're growing. We're growing very, very fast. We've had double-digit growth since I started. We were recently awarded the Sunday Times Fast Track for international growth. And we're doing very well. We do have extraordinarily tough targets this year. We're on course to get our first £100 million year, but acquisition and retention is very, very hard for us. Acquisition specifically is hard for us because Lovehoney exists for a reason. And that reason is couples aren't having great sex anymore, essentially. In the modern age, people are frankly too busy to focus on their sex life. And we know through research that when couples begin to use sex toys, 70% of them after 6 months are, after 6 months, 70% of them are more likely to say that they have a fulfilling sex life. So purely altruistically, out of the goodness of our own hearts, we would really like it if people bought some sex toys. But the problem is that couples aren't really talking about it. Couples don't talk about using sex toys in a relationship. They just don't. And so our latest advert is specifically about getting couples to talk about sex toys. Literally, the very first line in the advert, which hopefully you've seen, because I give a lot of money to Naked Attraction. Hopefully you've seen it. The first line is, let's talk about sex toys. But couples don't. This is possibly the most boring slide I have ever presented. This is a user experience map for the journey of buying a sex toy. It literally goes from the trigger, what made you first think about buying one, all the way through to purchase and post-purchase, how did it make you feel? And from that, we had these following segments come out. And you can see on the axes, it goes from whether you're trying to make your sex life more fun, or you're trying to solve a problem, and if you're doing it as a couple, or doing it on your own. And if you're doing it as a couple, it's actually quite a lot of fun. Couples actually enjoy co-browsing our site. But if you're doing it on your own, if you're a gifter, essentially trying to find the right sex toy to give to your partner, it is quite a nervous and anxious experience. Anxiety and nerves are one of the kind of touchstones of our customer base, quite frankly. We estimate that about 20 to 40% of all sessions to our site are in private browsing mode. And I also know that 0.48% of all our visitors actually log in. A tiny fraction of people log in. So how on earth am I meant to personalize the site when I have no idea who that person is who's visiting it? Which is why something like passive identification, which is something that Ametria offer, means so much to us. But it's not just that. I can't do any form of kind of socio-demographic targeting or segmentation or anything like that. I mean, mosaic data is bunk at the best of times, but just because two people live in the same postcode doesn't mean they like to do the same thing in their bedroom, or their dungeon for that matter. If I show the wrong thing to the wrong person, they will run a mile. I need to make sure that I'm showing essentially the right product to people. We do have a phrase at work called bang dildo, that the homepage is looking a bit bang dildo today, Matt, which basically means there's too many dildos on the homepage. I was going to say a rude word there for a second. Our purchasing pattern is reasonably seasonal, just like everyone else. We have Christmas and Valentine's. Black Friday is obviously becoming a bigger thing for us. But we also have, fortunately, user-generated promotional events. So things like birthdays and anniversaries are really big, important to us. And so we'll talk a little bit more about how we make the most of that. But in terms of the overall kind of pattern of behavior, we are largely a consumer electronics business. People don't buy a new hairdryer every 3 months or so. They buy a new hairdryer because they want a hairdryer that has better features. They might not buy a new hairdryer, but they might buy the curling tongs that go with it. And if you're lucky, they might buy all the styling products as well. And they might start repeatedly buying those styling products. We do know that it's actually quite difficult to get people into this category. And so we talk about essentially gateway drugs to sex toys. And those are things like lingerie and lubricants. If we can get people buying these slightly softer items, we can slowly get them into buying sex toys. And in fact, if you buy lingerie at Lovehoney, it's quite likely that we'll do a promotion where you'll get a very small billet as well, just to tease you into the category. We make a lot of song and dance about our reviews. Now, if you've ever been on Lovehoney, and I really would like you to, we have the world's largest database of sex toy reviews. I think we have 185,000 of them. And frankly, if you're looking for a laugh at lunchtime, go on our site, because reading the reviews is brilliant, quite frankly. Seriously, people write in depth about sex toys. They're quite happily. And we do actually give them guidance on how to write a review. So we'll say, right, how was it like when you first got it? What was the packaging like? How long did you have to charge it for? How excited were you when you opened the box? How did it make you feel afterwards? What did your partner think of it? And so people will write paragraphs and paragraphs. My favorite one is where someone says they got trapped in a mechanism. Second purchase. Second purchase is very important to us. I think 68% of customers only ever order once. from us, which is astounding. But if I do a lot of work in Shiny, I don't know if you know Shiny, for visualizations, but if I map the lag between first and second purchase, this appears. So statistically, the time someone is going to make their second purchase is actually a couple of days after their first purchase, which leads us to believe that people are doing test orders with us. They're buying something kind of small and low value, reasonably discrete, seeing what the packaging looks like, and then placing their order proper. What I really want to know is when are they placing that kind of second to third order, because that matters to me. Well,
thank you. So we love emails at Lovehoney because it's the most effective tool that we have for retaining our customers. In fact, 30% of our returning customer revenue comes from email. So it really is a key channel for us, and it's really great for me because it means that I get to have a job. So I'm just going to talk you through a bit about Lovehoney's history with email. So we sent our first emails back in 2005. This is what the website looked back then. A little bit different today, thankfully. And when we started doing the way that we do things in Lovehoney, we did it ourselves. So we started sending emails from the same server that was actually hosting our website, which apparently isn't the best way of doing things. So then we decided to get a proper company to come in and show us how to do it. So we hired Email Vision, who are now known as Smart Focus. Is anyone from Smart Focus here today? Hello. So they did all the segmentation and sending of emails for us, but 10 years ago, they promised to do things at the speed of thought. Hopefully your marketing has changed in the last 10 years, but I don't know if anyone knows their neuroscience, but that's 432,000 miles per hour. So we were a bit upset when we found that it was taking 15 minutes to do a simple query. So we kind of left them and decided to do it ourselves, build our own segmentation tool, and use SendGrid for the mechanism of sending. So why is there a horrified lady on the screen? This is one thing we wanted to do, a very early automatic post-purchase campaign. If you buy a set of specific products, we'd then offer personalized recommendations. But this was very advanced because it was 8 years ago. And using our own system, we didn't really know what we were doing properly, and this lady, poor Ms. Herbert, she phoned up and said that she received 6 of these emails in one day. So unfortunately, we had to call that a day without having the kind of visibility or awareness of who we were sending to and what they were getting to. But what we could do was segment. So we were able to identify 3 types of customers. So we've got, on the left here, we've got our cold customers who had never placed an order. These were very nervous people who needed a lot of assurance that the packaging was going to be okay, showed them beginner-friendly products, and required a lot of hand-holding and customer testimonials. But once they placed their first order, they become a tepid customer who are a lot more open to the idea, willing to see the next suggestions, but we still didn't want to show them scary products because otherwise they would just run away screaming. But then once they placed their second order, they would become what we had termed a free and enlightened customer who are really, really engaged with us. They are living a fun and fulfilling sex life, and they're a lot more open to our whole catalog, essentially. And so we looked at how much each segment was worth to us, and we found that the free segment was actually worth 72% of the revenue from email. So as a marketer, I knew that this is where I needed to spend my time focusing. So we looked at the data, and we saw that if you were buying a vibrator or kitting out your bondage sex dungeon, then we'd send you more things related to that. So we'd offer these related suggestions, content that's relevant to the customer. And we saw that these emails that we were sending had 5 times higher revenue than that of a standard email. And it was really, really effective at encouraging that repeat purchase. Another campaign we send that is very effective for our returning customers is the deal of the day, which is exactly what it says on the tin. And so a existing customer will often come back to the website to see what the deal of the day is, so encouraging repeat visits. But the most important thing is that we've got the permission to email this customer every day if they sign up to the Deal of the Day newsletter. So Lovehoney's constantly in your inbox. You're always thinking about us. And that's the real key, is getting customers to be engaged with you constantly. So we're always thinking about how we can get our customers to be engaged with us. And another way is our loyalty program. So this is when we first launched it back in the day. Our old mascot there is Honey. She's a little bit less sexually happy than we are now. But this was really, really great for encouraging account creation, because that then increases propensity to purchase and sign up for the mailing list. So we had this program, but again, it's all inbuilt. So we couldn't do anything with it until last year, which is when we relaunched it as the new shiny Lovehoney Rewards, where we offer tiered levels to encourage repeat purchase. It might look a bit familiar. We kind of shamelessly copied ASOS with this. I'm not going to lie about it. But it's fantastic because it rewards our most loyal customers who we really love, and they like feeling valued in kind of receiving these emails that know that we really like them. So yeah, we send them more generous promotions depending on which kind of loyalty bracket they're in, whether it's 1, 2, or 3. And often it's the emails or promotions that they're most engaged with, like these birthday and anniversary emails that Matt touched on earlier. So these are sent to customers when it is their birthday or their anniversary, and we know when it is because they've told us. So this is a user-generated promotion, which is fantastic, because they're letting us know when something is relevant to them, when they want to hear an offer from us. If we have more of these, it would make my job a lot easier, because they're doing the work for me, which is fantastic. So those are a couple of things that we think we've done well, but we also know that there are some things that we haven't done quite so well.
We do terribly. This is awful. This is our abandoned basket campaign. I hate it, and frankly, I should hang my head in shame, give my e-commerce guru card back to Ian Jindal, and go home, because it is terrible. We are somewhat technologically limited at Lovehoney. As a blast from the past, who here remembers Cold Fusion? No one, because it's so ancient. Cold Fusion is what is essentially our underlying technology at Lovehoney, and I'll tell you something, Cold Fusion developers are gold dust in the Southwest. So we really struggle to make certain technological advancements. This is our abandoned basket campaign. There's all sorts of things I want to do to it. It should be e-commerce 101, but we do it terribly. So for example, I can't test the time to send it. I can't test whether a discount is needed. I can't test if I need to put out the entire basket or just a selection of items. Currently, no third party can reinflate our basket at the moment because of the way our server works. We're trying to fix it with Ametria. What I can see, however, when I see transactions that have used an abandoned basket code, is that it's mostly returning visitors. And every order that they've placed also includes an abandoned basket discount. So I think someone is gaming our system, but I can't prove it yet. It's not good. It's not good, and I think we can do an awful lot better with it.
So yes, kind of describes exactly what our situation is in this Cold Fusion language. We knew that there was so much that we wanted to achieve through email, very aspirational company, and Gary, our one developer, has worked really, really hard developing this email system over the last 10 years or so, but he kind of struggled to keep up with the cutting edge of email marketing. I mean, who could have guessed? So in 2016, we decided to switch, and after a long tender process, we decided to go with Ametria. Thank you, Ivan. We went with Ametria because they do all that ESP good stuff that we really need, like the dynamic content and the segmentation, all of that stuff. But most importantly, we really felt that the cultural fit of Ametria was really similar to Lovehoney's in that we're just a bunch of nerds. And we really like data, we're passionate about emails, so passionate about what we do, and that really made us want to work with them. So we began integrating in February, And just as we started integrating, SendGrid came along and said, we're closing our emails at the end of September. So that meant that we weren't going to be able to send any more emails. So time was against us. Our tech team had thankfully doubled, so now we've got 2 developers who can work on this. Brilliant. And this is a global rollout across 9 websites. So the stakes are high, the pressure's on. And so finally, we had our first sends last month. So mission accomplished. And I'd love to tell you, at this point, amazing statistics about how Ametria has revolutionized Lovehoney's email marketing program. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to apologize and say I can't because it's too early. So sorry about that, but maybe we'll come back next year with some figures for you, yeah. But what I can show you is things that we've always wanted to do, old system, and now we can do it in the new system. This is our welcome campaign at the moment. So we've got 4 emails over 8 days, and it's segmented in a couple of ways so that we can do things like send discounts to non-customers, and we can split test and optimize. And at the moment, these emails are 3 times higher revenue per email than a standard email. And it's just the beginning of what we're trying to do with Ametria and with our marketing program, because there are so many things. And if I want to just talk you through what I want to do as part of my email wish list, I want to personalize every email so that the customer has the expectation of valuable and relevant content to them. I want to segment everything so that we're only sending emails that we know is relevant to the customer, and want to do more behaviorally targeted emails because they just perform better. I think that's just generally agreed on. So all of this added up is really just making Ametria do the hard work. So I can spend my time thinking of content and strategies that will help achieve our targets easier and ultimately reduce the volume of emails, as we know we send too many. I don't know if anyone here has signed up, but I wouldn't be surprised if we've sent more emails than you want to receive, and I'm sorry for that.
Several, possibly just this morning.
Yeah, exactly. But once we're there, you know, there'll be no more Ms. Herbert, and it'll be the best possible customer experience.
Definitely. I have my own personal wish list for things I want to do on email, and unsurprisingly, the very first one is wish listing itself. Wish listing to me is the second highest indicator of propensity to purchase, obviously the first being add to basket. And we don't do anything with that data. And we really should. At the very least, what I want to do is email people their wish list on payday. I mean, it seems so obvious, and yet we don't do it. But once we know what people want to buy, we can do fun stuff with it. Some examples here, like Skyscanner and Ukes. If something on their wish list is discounted in deal of the day or just is on a sale, send them an email about it. If something is low on stock or discontinued and there's only a couple left, send them a now or never email about it. One thing I really want to do, and this is very idiosyncratic and very specific to Lovehoney, if you remember from my segments at the beginning, we do have fun couples, co-browsers. And so can I amend wish lists to essentially be collaborative? If I allow people to add multiple people, it doesn't just have to be 2, we support all sorts of relationships. If I can get multiple people to add things to a wish list, can that almost become like their playlist? I don't know. But can I kind of get more people engaged into the site and what they want? I love Ukes. If you don't go on Ukes, they do amazing things with email. They're part of the Net-a-Porter group. I don't know why Net-a-Porter don't use the same technology, but on Ukes, you can actually subscribe to categories and brands, and if you can even filter down and subscribe to that. So if I'm looking at a particular brand or looking at a particular category, they can send me emails when something new arrives in that category. I may not want these particular jumpsuits. I don't think they would suit me, but I can see if there's something actually I want. I think that's perfect, and something for us where there is this very specific category interest might be very useful to us. At Lovehoney, we nick a lot of ideas. As you saw, we're quite fond of ASOS. This is something we call the vibrator finder. that we have on Lovehoney, but very, very well for us. Essentially, it allows us to tell people what's important when buying a vibrator without actually showing any vibrators. And we completely nicked this idea from Appliances Online. Appliances Online have this really wonderful American fridge freezer finder that we just wholesale nicked and applied to sex toys because we're weird. At the moment, I'm busy trying to figure out how can I sell sex toys for men using choose-your-own-adventure books. And if you follow me on Instagram, I've kind of posted a couple of sneak previews of it. It's very interesting. But as I said earlier, in my prior life, I sold frozen food to old people for a living. This is Wiltshire Farm Foods, my previous life. Average online user on Wiltshire Farm Foods is 83, which presents quite an interesting UX challenge. We actually, to do UX testing, we had to drive around to people's houses. And I noticed that one guy couldn't find the checkout button, and it's because he had a Post-it note on his screen with his password on it, literally covering the button. But Wiltshire Farm Foods is award-winning, specifically for email marketing, because they did something very well called critical lag. And they figured out, or I figured out, that, right, if someone every Thursday at 3 o'clock orders 7 meals and 7 desserts, like clockwork, I can reasonably know that they are having 1 meal and 1 dessert every day. Now, at Lovehoney, we sell reasonably specialist lubricants. So can I, if people are buying same lubricant, roughly at the same time, every couple of months or so, figure out how frequently they are having sex? I can. I can. And can I then predict, just as that bottle is starting to run out, that they're going to need another bottle, and just send them an email saying, don't let your love life run dry. It's a cheap pun, but I love it. Anyway, in conclusion, the things we'd really like you to take away from this, from everything we've learned over the past 12 years or so. Firstly, don't run before you can walk. Certainly don't run before you have the technology and the understanding. As Ms. Herbert would very happily tell us over the phone, we sent her too many emails. We sent a lot of people too many emails because we didn't understand what we were trying to do, and we definitely didn't have the technology to do it. Secondly, seize the day. Literally, seize the day. If your customers can tell you anything about themselves, like birthdays and anniversaries or any event that's important to them, use it as an email opportunity. Even if they can't tell you anything about themselves, what you do have is something that's relevant, the date of their first purchase with you. So for example, PC Specialist, email me every year because it's the anniversary of me buying my computer from them. And they say, well, do you want a new graphics card now or something like that? I haven't told them anything, but they've actually sent me a very relevant email at that time. Thirdly, surround yourself with nerds. We are geeks. We are massive geeks at Lovehoney. Yes, we sell sex toys, but we're a bunch of nerds. We have an Alan Turing bake sale every year. That's how nerdy we are. And so when we went to look at companies to help us with our email, we looked at people who were essentially geeky about data and were passionate about data. And that is much more fulfilling to us than someone in a shiny suit trying to sell us a bunch of features. It's the passion that we care about. And finally, nick ideas. We nick ideas all the time. If you've seen anything in this that you want to nick, by all means do. Come and talk to us about how we did it. We're happy to talk about it with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Will. That was very enlightening. And actually, one thing I wanted to ask you guys, because obviously the products you're selling are sensitive, and in terms of getting through sort of spam filters and so on, are there any particular strategies you use to make sure that your emails get through and don't get marked as spam?
Yeah, so we tend to use a lot more JPEGs than HTML because spam traps can't read images, so that's one way, but we also only email customers who are engaged, either by opening emails or purchasing recently, that sort of thing, just to make sure that we are emailing an active customer.
Yeah. We also used to have the old word substitute filter, where essentially it would scan an email, and if we had rude words in it, it would either strip them out or replace them with a slightly softer alternative that would then like completely change the email on the fly. So there's many ways to sell certain types of rings, I'll tell you that.
Cool. Do we have any questions from the floor? Anyone like to ask Matt or Will something? Yes, we've got one here. Sorry, Desi, yeah.
Do you use any kind of content for marketing, or are your emails largely transactional?
They are mostly promotional, but we're trying to shift more towards valuable content because there's only so many sex toys that you can buy at once. So we'd like to kind of nurture you and inform you about the kind of things that you can do with the various products that we sell.
It's the sex toy world is a very confusing one. I mean, we sell 82 different types of bullets alone, let alone everything else. So what's most valuable to us is customer education. So what we will often do is try and recommend buyer's guides. We have an entire educational section on our site. If you go onto our YouTube channel, we have endless videos, literally, well, not showing you, but telling you how to use these things. So what we want is people to actually have a good time with our products, because otherwise they won't come back and buy some more.
Good. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Will. Great talk.